Let's get into today's episode of Why We Succeed.
I just want to thank you, Calvin, man. I always enjoy our conversations together and so honored once again that you agreed to come on and be a guest on this new podcast. And before we go, man, there's a part of the show that I close out. I'm still trying to figure out the name, but for now, I'm calling it Pick 3, where I'm going to ask you to pick three random numbers between 1 and 16, and then I'll give you 3 separate questions to ask to kind of close things out in a fun way. That work for you?
That's perfect.
All right. So let's start with your first number. Any number between 1 and 16.
Let's go with 3.
All right, 3. So here's the question. Oh, and this is perfect for you, man. Watch this. What is a book you want to read but haven't picked up yet? That question was so suited for you, man.
There's so many books. Like there's like I have Humanocracy. I have Emotional Intelligence. Oh wow, this is a good one. I'm sorry, I'm looking backwards.
Man, you good.
But this book right here is The Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health.
Oh wow.
That's the book that's one of the books. Actually, I plan on reading that book tomorrow as I'm driving down to Norfolk, Virginia. So
nice. I'm
going to listen to it. But that's a book that I've had for a long time that I have not touched. But there's so many other books. Like I have too many books. I have a lot of books. Yeah.
I know, man. Yeah, like I feel like every other accountability call, like we're recommending books, man. It's like, man, I don't know when we'll get the time to read all of them, but definitely glad to add them to my Amazon cart.
Yep,
my little book list that I got building.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love that, man. Yo, when you get a chance, text me a photo of that book because I would love to look into that one, man. It sounds really deep.
Yeah, I definitely will.
All right, so what's your second number, man? Any number between 1 and 16?
Let's go with 6. I'm picking my parents' numbers, the numbers that they use when my mom and dad were together. I'm picking their numbers, so
nice.
Yeah, 6.
Let's see what 6 lands you. It says, if you could have any, wow, this is you, man. Your parents are on to something, man. I promise you, these questions are perfectly suited for you. Check this out. If you could have any skill or superpower to aid you in business, what would it be?
Man, I want to cheat and say to be able to read people's minds.
No, the question with that is, do you want the switch to be able to turn it off?
No, I want to know because I don't like surprises. That's the thing. I don't like surprises at all. I hate surprises.
I can respect that.
My ex-wife tried to give me a surprise birthday party. I blew the whole thing up once I walked in. I was not good with surprises. So let me think about this one.
Okay, take your time.
A little bit deeper. To aid me in business, any superpower, right, or super skill?
Yep, any skill or superpower.
To be able to read faster and absorb the information. That's something that I would be like, if I'm able to like really read, like speed read through everything and absorb the information and not have to go back and reread, that would be it. It.
You know what it reminds me of? Have you ever seen the show Criminal Minds?
I haven't. I heard of it though.
So there's this doctor on there, young doctor. He's like a genius. Like the dude literally just reads like this.
Wow.
and that's what it reminded me of. And like, he'll read a book, like it'll be like one of those 1,000-pagers, right? They'll fly to some place and he'll have his 1,000-page book. And by the time he's done, and then he'll get there and he'll be breaking things down. And it's like, how in the world is that even possible? That's what that reminded me of, man, having that type of skill.
Yeah, I would love to have that skill because like right now in my role, I have to read a lot. I mean, a lot. And it's just like, some days and sometimes at weeks, that's all I'm doing for 8 to 9 hours is just reading. Wow. And I would love to be able to do that. So that would definitely make things easier.
For sure. So what's your third number?
It's 9.
9. So this one is, if you could partner with or have lunch with any business owner, any influencer, or any celebrity, who would it be?
That would be Napoleon Hill. He's no longer with us, but it would be Napoleon Hill. I would love to sit down and have lunch or dinner with him and just have that detailed conversation. I listened to a lot of his past lectures, and I've read a few of his books. The number one book that I love from him is Outwitting the Devil. And that book.
Yeah, I think that was one of the first books you recommended to me when we became accountability partners. I remember that.
Yeah, I read that book. Jay, I read that book once a year. Because
I gotta get in the habit of doing that, man. Because I'll be honest, like I don't really remember it, and I'm so glad you brought it up because now I got to reread it.
Yeah, I read it once a year, and I have 5 books that I'm going to be reading this year before the year is. I'm a fourth quarter reads. They're going to be Atomic Habits. Let me just pull it up really quick so that way I'm not
Atomic Habits.
missing it.
You already know. I always talk about that one.
Atomic Habits, and I just posted it on social media.
Okay.
And here it is. So it's Atomic Habits, the 10X Rule, the Compound Effect, Relentless, From Good to Great to Unstoppable, and Outwitting the Devil. Those are the 5 books that I'm going to be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books that I'm going to be reading this fourth quarter.
I've read 3 of those. Atomic Habits, Compound Effect, and then Outwitting the Devil. I definitely got to go back and read Outwitting the Devil because I don't really remember a lot from it. And that was definitely during the time when I was more so into quantity versus quality and being able to retain information when I was reading.
I know all about that. Yeah.
So I'm curious, what is it about that book and what is it about Napoleon Hill in particular that makes you say, hey, you know what? That's the guy I want to sit down and have that lunch with.
So the book, there's like chapter after chapter where it's questions like he's interviewing the devil and he's asking the devil like pinpointed questions. And I listened to the audiobook. I had the physical book, but I listened to the audiobook and it made more of an impact on me because the voice of the person that's speaking as the devil sounds like it could be the devil. Wow. And so it made me pay more attention to it, but it talks about things like habits, like why we have bad habits and how the devil tricks us and puts us in a space where he gives us, he messes with our mind and makes us continuously have those habits repeated over and over again, even though we try to break them, because there are spaces that he knows he's going to put us in that's going to trigger us to go down a path of still working with those bad habits. But to answer your question, why Napoleon Hill, I feel like he's a timeless person. The information that he has in that book, and that book was written in 1938, but they didn't publish it until about 2013, I believe, 2011, 2013. And this was well after he was dead. So when he wrote the book, he let his wife read it. She said, do not publish this book while I'm alive. He let someone else read it. They said, do not publish this book while I'm alive.
I remember that.
He passed away. Then his wife got it and she let somebody read it. And they told her, don't publish this book while I'm alive. So all of these people had to pass away in order for this book to come out. That was written in 1938. And it's timeless information. And like I said, I listened to his lectures that he had when he was, I don't know, I can't remember if he was a professor or whatever, but he had lectures that he held. I was able to download those off of iTunes. Okay. The information that he gives is so relevant. And we're talking, like I said, we're talking about 1930s where he was doing his lectures.
And like 90 years ago, man. That's crazy.
It's still relevant today. And it's just, I know he had more in him. So if I had the opportunity to sit down with him, I want that stuff that he didn't talk about. Like,
like what are those writings that's still waiting for somebody else to die and pass them along?
Right.
Or even like you said though, what died with him? Because we know not everybody dies empty, right? Like Dr. Monroe talks about, and definitely be a pleasure to glean those things that he still clutched close to the chest.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
That's dope, man. Yeah. Calvin, this has been such an amazing discussion. Before we wrap up, I just want to hand the mic over to you, give you the opportunity. Are there any questions that you like to ask me or any last or closing words you want to leave us with today?
I don't have any questions. I just want to say this is great. I really appreciate this. And I'm glad you made the pivot. Honestly, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you were obedient to God's word when it came to making the pivot with your.
It was tough. I told you. That's so hard, man.
We definitely stood in agreement on that through prayer. But I'm glad you made that pivot. And I'm pretty sure your next thing that you're going to be working on is going to be phenomenal. I know this is going to be phenomenal, but everything has its perfect timing. So I just wanted to share that with you. I want to thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it, giving me the opportunity to speak to your audience. And, this was fun. This was so much fun. If there's anything that, anything I can do to help you, let me know. I'm there for you regardless. So you have me. Yeah, definitely.
Oh man, Calvin, you already know we got to do this again. And we were talking before we got on here. The last time we recorded a podcast was 4 years ago. So I promise you, man, it's not gonna be that long, man. I'm gonna have you back a lot sooner than that, man.
Okay.
But
all right, sounds
good.
Thank you
so much for everything that you share with us today, man. It really means a lot to me. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Happy to do it for sure. Hey, everybody. My name is Calvin Purnell Jr. This is great to be on the show, Why We Succeed. I hope this information is going to be impacting to you and powerful for you. I was very happy to be able to share this information with you and Jay. You can find me on any social media platform and just type my name in, Calvin Purnell Jr. It will pop up. You'll see a picture of me. On Instagram, you'll see my name come up as Calvin Purnell, but also as Mindfully Speaking. Facebook and Twitter, it's Calvin Purnell Jr. But you'll be able to find me in those spaces, as well as LinkedIn. I do a lot of networking on LinkedIn. You can catch me there as well. And those are the platforms that I use regularly. I also have a couple of books that I wrote too. So if you have interest in purchasing those books after listening to this show, please feel free to purchase them. If you want to get them directly from me, you can email me at cp@cpspeaks.com. I'll say that again, cp@cpspeaks.com. If you want to email me directly and say that you'd like to purchase them from me so that way you can get a signed copy along with a personalized message, we can do that too. I use the different payment platforms as well, so we won't have any issues and we'll be able to go from there. And the books are called Polished: The Young Professional's Guide for Success and Polished: Preparing for What's Next. And I'm also working on the third book and that'll be out shortly. So happy to be here. And if there's anything that I can do for any of you, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to help.